What's up, everyone? Welcome to Country with Noah, or welcome back to Country with Noah. Today, I am going to be reviewing 911 Nashville, Episode 6. This video will have spoilers in it. This episode was really good. So, there's basically two storylines that go on in this episode. So, we finally meet Blythe's father, right? And Blythe's father and Dawn have a beef. Because Blythe's father, who I forget the name of, wanted Ryan to join Blythe's father's winery business. Obviously, Ryan became a firefighter, right? And so after that, Blythe's father cut Ryan out of the will, right? And so that's when the beef started between Dawn and Blythe's father. But so when we meet Blythe's father, Blythe's father, there's a fire at his winery or his distillery, and he's a massive whiskey maker. Like he makes like 20. Like I told you, Blythe's family is super loaded, right? So they're super rich, and so he makes a bunch of like whiskey and alcoholic beverages, right? And then so the firehouse gets called to put out the fire and to save lives and stuff, and then the line of water doesn't work, or it runs out of water. So then Dawn makes a call to destroy Blythe's dad's whiskey barrels, and Blythe's dad is furious, bro. Like he's furious. But then the chief of all of Nashville of firefighters asks him, "Hey, we need your father-in-law's money for to save firefighters' jobs, because what's going on Cammy's side of the world, the 911 dispatching side of the world, is they're getting judged on like efficiency and timing and stuff that 911 or first responders shouldn't be judged on, in my opinion, right? When you're helping somebody, you're helping them, especially 911 dispatchers, like, because what Cammy does is she uses her manners. Everybody should use their manners. She's also building rapport with the people that she's talking to, which makes sense, because when people call 911, it's their scariest time in their life, right? So, or one of their scariest times in their life. So, you should be able to build rapport with that person and not get in trouble for it. And then, so basically, all the main characters are dealing with job cuts. So they have so back to Dawn now. Dawn has to talk to his father-in-law, and they haven't talked for 20 years, right? They don't get along. But obviously, Blythe's dad loves his girl, his daughter. So he's like, fine, I'll come to the house for a peace. Like, and Blythe basically plays the referee. So he's like, two men I love, I want them to respect each other, right? Then they almost come to an agreement, but then Dawn's father-in-law is like, hey, one more thing, you gotta fire Blue, which is Dawn's son, and he's like, I'm not firing my son, right? And Blythe's dad is like, your son? You didn't have the right to hide this from me, and and then you find out that they've had beef since Blythe and Dawn got married, because Dawn's father-in-law said, I told you shouldn't have married this guy. Look what he's doing to our family now. And then Dawn and Blythe are like, get out of our house. And then um, then then what happens is Dawn is about to fire Blue because he has to, right? Because if he doesn't, then like a bunch of firefighters will lose their jobs. And my parents both have like high up positions in business, and they say that it's uh it's the worst thing of their jobs when they have to fire people. It has to happen because it's business, but it's the worst thing that they can do, right? Because it takes away their livelihood. So obviously Don isn't gonna let that happen. So he almost fires Blue, and then Blue's practicing on the fire truck because he thought it was his fault that they couldn't get water to come out of the line, and then Don's like, Blue, you're a genius. So he runs to have another meeting with Blythe's father. But I didn't know. I like this side of Don, y'all. Right? Don's a good person. But if he feels that he can do something right, he will do it right no matter the consequences. Because he's like, so, you've been stealing water from the I forget what they call it, but we'll just call it a water reserve that we could have used to save your prized whiskey that you got so mad at me for. And he's like, what? No. And he's like, and Don's like, yeah, I know you did it. I know you did it. I think his name's Walter, but I don't want to swear by that. So we'll just, I know you did it. And then he's like, what is this, blackmail? And because he goes, I'm sure the press wouldn't like to hear that, or something like that. And then, so yeah, and then they come to an agreement, and then Blythe calls Dawn, is like, what the hell did you do? Starting a war with my father, he's gonna go scorched earth on you. He's gonna go scorched earth on all of us, right? And he's like, I did the right thing, and I tried to keep you out of it because it's your father, Blythe. And then, uh, then we'll get to the end of the episode because next episode's gonna be very, very interesting. Um, and then so the Cammy storyline. So the same people that are trying to cut firefighter jobs are there to make the 911 dispatching center more efficient and quicker and stuff like that. And um, and Cammy's their best dispatcher, right? And they're trying to like speed it up and get more calls in and stuff like that. And for the people that do this, bro, like I get it that like when you're out on the field, you gotta be super 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 quick, right? And I've never been a 911 dispatcher or a fireman. Obviously, I couldn't be a fireman if I wanted to because I'm disabled. But 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 like, dude, you shouldn't rush people when we're trying to help people, right? And that goes for any job. Well, now that's not me saying you can take like as slow as molasses to get it done, but when they're helping somebody, you shouldn't rush them off whatever they're doing. And that's what they're trying to do with the 911 dispatch. They're trying to make them like efficient, super fast. Efficient, for those of y'all that don't know what efficient means, it means like fast, right? That's what it means. And Cammy's their best dispatcher, but then they say, Cammy, you use too much manners. I've never heard of that, bro. The way I was raised, always say please and thank you, and because that's a way of that's the thing of treat people how you want it to be treated, and they'll treat you the same. At least that's the way I was raised. So, yeah, but so they call her out for using too many manners. They they're like, you. So Cammy was a music producer before she was a 911 dispatcher, and we find out how her husband passed away, and so Cammy and the lead girl, who I'm forgetting the name of, Cammy and the lead girl go to uh, go to blows multiple times in this episode, and I'm talking verbally. They don't go to blows physically, right? And she's like, if you jack in on one of my calls again, which means like they're listening to them taking calls, and that's just wrong, dude. Right? Um, if you jack into one of my calls again, you don't have to fire me. I'll quit. Because there's a, for those of you who don't know, there's a thing called a letter of resignation, which means you quit, right? You have to give 2 week notice whenever you quit a job, right? Or it's mainly 2 weeks. I think it's always 2 weeks, but I'm not 100% sure on that, right? But so she's like, you cut into one of my calls again. Here's my letter of resignation. But here's the thing that happens that turns this character around. Because at first I'm like, okay, she's a word I'm not gonna say on this video, right? Right? But what happens is, so they're all getting this call from this person that they think is a 911 butt dial, right? And it turns out that the person was choking, and so Cammy's like, so with all of so Cammy's husband, I don't know if I mentioned this, was Blythe's brother, right? So that's how Dawn and Ryan and Blue and Blythe and Cammy are all connected, right? So uh, so like he's like, I took all my brother's will, inheritance, and put it into this dispatch center. Um, I gave it state of the art, like software to help find people. I gave you a video, like it's almost like a 911 Skype service that she gave, or FaceTime service that she gave them. And then she's like, you I gave them more training than ever before. I made this place the best place in the country for 911 dispatching, right? In this universe, right? She doesn't say in this universe, I'm saying in this universe. And then what happens is uh, um, what happens is, so every 911 dispatcher gets this call that they think is a butt dial, right? Which, it could be a butt dial. Again, I've never been a 911 dispatcher, but I've watched a lot of these TV shows, and I've like, it could be a 911, it could be a butt dial, and if you're butt dialing 911, you are that's a mistake you shouldn't do, right? But it could be a butt dial. It could be a abusive situation, right? Or it could be a person choking, which it turned out to be. So Cammy's like, and this person's alone in a hotel room. So Cammy's like, I'm not gonna do it. But Cammy's like, ma'am, grab your rib cage, and then with your other hand punch it as hard as you can. And then she's like, dive, like fall with all your weight on this chair. And then this person's about to die, and they Cammy saves her, right? And then another call that happens is, this show's crazy, like with its calls and stuff, but this stuff does actually happen, right? Not all the time, but it does actually happen. another thing that happens is a babysitter and a child were playing 911. I mean, we're playing hide and seek, and the babysitter accidentally put the child in the washing machine by accident. So Cammy and the lady who's trying to get her to be more quick and more efficient get into another fight, like, cause and Cammy's like, I can't have you in my ear telling me what's bad and what's wrong, cause they're like, before Cammy and her have the last fight, before Cammy and her have the last conversation of the episode that them two have, then um then uh she tells all the 911 dispatchers, like, she's like in their ear, hurry it up, 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 right? And then um then what happens is, so Cammy has to instruct the girl how to turn off the washing machine or unplug the washing machine, right? And she screws up for a minute, and then they're like, "Are you sure she didn't say H?" And then she's like, and then they save the boy, and and stuff like that. And then after the last call, which is the choking call that I told you about, we find out how Cammy's husband died. So she's like, she comes into the uh, like office of the lead lady of the efficient squad, and is like, I told you, if you butted into one of my calls again, I'm leaving, right? And she's like, you can't leave. And then she's like, what I just told you. She's like, I told you, if you butt into one of my calls again, you're I'll leave, right? I'm not gonna do that, right? And then she's like, I heard you were a music producer. I heard you were a music producer before you were a 911 dispatcher. And she's like, yes. And she's like, why'd you go for the career change? Because that's a massive career change, going from a music producer to going to an, I don't know, dispatcher, right? And she's like, because when me and my husband were having dinner, and just having a conversation talking about being empty nesters, right? Um, he choked on something, and I didn't know how to do the Heimlich, and he passed away. So that's when I decided to be a 911 dispatcher. And then she's like, I'm so sorry for telling you that it was a butt dial and telling you to hurry up when we were saving, well, when you saved that woman's life when she was choking. I And then the lady realizes her mistakes and is like, there's one person I do have to fire though, because your boss, Cammy, he's committing fraud. Right? And she's like, no. And she's like, yeah. And then the ending of the episode, like the very ending of the episode, is very, very, like, it starts off in the beginning, like, uh, it's a ransom group, and they're like, I remember the ending of the episode is like, there's a ransom group hacking everything. So they hack the fire station, they hack all the internet signals in Nashville, and they're like, um, they give a ransom demand. A ransom demand is basically, they ask for money, and if you don't give them money, then they'll they'll do something. So they like give them a ransom demand, and it's like $100,000 or something like that. And and the ransom demand says, if you don't do this, Nashville will get very bloody. And then at the beginning of the episode and at the very end of this episode, we see how Nashville will potentially get very bloody, because there's a boat that gets hacked, like a tour boat, and they're about to ram them into the bridge. And that's how the episode ends. And I cannot wait for next week's episode. This show has been way better than I expected. Like, I would say now it's one of my favorite shows of the year. It's like my number 5 favorite show of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Like, for me, like, this show really impresses me every episode. It keeps getting better and better, right? And next week is gonna be very interesting because Blythe is riding a horse, and the they also like hack the alarms in Nashville, so they're like there's like tornado warnings. There's like what is it? Nuclear explosion warnings. There's like um there's like a bunch of stuff, and then also the alarm starts to trigger, and Blythe is riding a horse, and I know this because I used to horseback ride. Horses are very easily scared, right? So if they get startled and you're on the back of them, you're basically screwed, right? Because they'll gallop back and you'll fall off. And like Blythe, I don't see what she falls on, but she falls on like a spike, and and then there's blood, and Blythe passes out, and then it's like to be continued. Which this show's cliffhangers too are insane. So yeah, thank y'all so much for watching this video. For watching this review. I would give this episode here a 8.5 or 9 out of 10. And yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. And God bless you guys.